Hello, Yola Pypno-Crapanzano here, and welcome to day one of Design Your Exceptional Life Challenge. I am so thrilled you're here because it tells me that you are like myself. You do not want to settle for mediocrity in life. You know that there is next level that you desire and deserve. You know that the exceptional life exists. And you also knew that you were only one decision away of making the first step towards it. You're here. So once again, congratulations. You know, so many people saw this offer and they're not here because these are people who believe that by doing the same thing, they can get a different results. But unfortunately, often for them, their today looks very much like their yesterday, and their tomorrow will look very much like today. No change. George Bernard Shaw said it really beautifully, that no progress is possible without change. And if we don't change our mindsets, nothing will change. So I am so glad that you're here to, try to look at what's possible for you. What's that exceptional life mean for you? What it looks like. We are here to design it for you. So a little bit of a housekeeping at the beginning. You already make this choice to be here. Please make the best out of it. Eliminate all the distractions, shut all the browsers on your computer, shut all the notifications on the phone, shut the doors. Maybe you need to also shut the kids and the husbands for a moment and just be here. Just be here because, sometimes if we lose focus, we may miss that one thing. And sometimes it's enough to hear that one thing that can change everything for us. So no distractions. A couple words about me. Who am I? If you do not know, I'm a certified high performance coach, and recently I also got certification and as an NLP and timeline therapy practitioner. And those are just titles. But what's more important for me to say is that I am a person who about 5 years ago made the decision to start moving towards my exceptional life. Because you know what? On an outside, my life looked pretty good. On an outside, everything seemed to be just fine. I worked as a manager in a big corporation in Manhattan. I had a great family, husband, 2 children. I traveled the world. I lived pretty comfortable life. I had good friends. I partied. And yet inside, in my heart, I knew that there was next level. I knew that there was more in life that I wasn't tapping into. I knew that in order for me to live fully, I needed to get something else. I couldn't really put my finger on it. I just knew that it existed. So I started my big personal journey, and it continues. The personal development journey actually never ends. So what we're doing here in this challenge, we're just examining a tip of an iceberg. There is so much more. But without making that first step, we'll never get anywhere. So therefore, it's so important to start somewhere. So 5 years ago, I started my, touching up with first concepts of personal development journey. Changing my physical body would change my, attitudes, changed my mindsets, and so on and so forth. And from that point, I started developing that curiosity and started developing ideas that there's so much I need to learn that it just never ended. I became this forever student that I always was, but now it was all focus on how much I can change myself in order to change my life, life of other people's, and life of the people that are the closest to me. What was that one element that changed for me was the realization that the missing link for me was the element of service, of leaving the legacy, of having the meaning to my life. So not just pleasure, not just having good time, but also being able to make that impact, to leave that imprint, to leave the legacy that after I'm gone, there will be something behind me that my children will be proud of. And to know that at the end there will be no regrets, that I have done everything I could to get my life and the people in my life as close as possible to that exceptional levels. So this challenge was designed with that purpose, that at the end of the 3 days, you will be able, without a shadow of the doubt, say, what does exceptional life mean for you? Because it means so many different things to so many different people. I talked about it earlier. For some person can be just professional goals. For some person could be everything that that is related to their personal life, love, relationships. For some people it's just money. For some people it's travel. For some people it's all above, fulfilling dreams, leaving legacies. So whatever the thing is for you, you need to know. Because if you don't have a crystal vision of what the ideal, exceptional, extraordinary life looks like for you, then it's very hard to actually imagine getting it. So you won't go towards it because you don't know what you want. When I asked my clients this question, do you know who you really strive to become, who you truly want to be? What is it that you want from life? I often get like a long pause, and after that people tend to tell me what they don't want. But that's not the question. The question actually is, what do you want? You should be able to give me details, page-long description of what do you want. And that's the goal of this challenge. So it's divided into 3 separate lessons, all around letter D. So first we're designing this, right? Designing this exceptional life. And we're starting with the decision. Enough is enough. I'm deciding. Now it's my time. I am doing it. No matter what it takes, I'm going to work on my mindset, because everything that happens between the 2 ears, and everything happens up here. So I am working on it. I'm making this decision. We will cover the topics today of what kind of mindsets are there, the growth mindsets and fixed mindsets. What other voices we're hearing, what are the thoughts we're having in our heads, what are the things we're telling ourselves, what is the energy that surrounds all of us, and how this influences our behaviors, and so on and so forth. So the decision-making process is today. Tomorrow we will diagnose, determine what wasn't working in the past, like what were we doing wrong, what was that stuff that really wasn't serving us, and what needs to change like right away in order for us to start moving towards the desired outcome, that deserved dream life. And on day 3, we're going to create a vision. We're going to dream up our ideal, exceptional life. We're going to make it like almost like a vision board that you'll be able to touch, feel, smell, taste if you could, right? So it's going to be vivid, because only when we have it this exact, it's possible to start moving really quickly towards it. Like they say, the universe conspires to give us what we want, if we have a crystal clear vision what it is that we want. So in each lesson every day, you will have a script that will cover some concepts that perhaps I didn't cover talking to you, because I could go for hours, and that's not the point. The point is to give you ideas, and you take what serves you and you leave what doesn't. Some ideas may be a little bit foreign for you. Some ideas may sound challenging. I ask this: if you just absorb it, let it sink in, and just consider it. Because the thing is that if you do not let your mind grow and take new things in, you won't change. The progress is about ability to change the mind. Yeah, we said that. So another thing I ask is that if you come across the concept that you already heard about, and I purposely said heard about, I could say but what does that mean that you know it? Are you really using that knowledge? Are you implementing that knowledge? Or is it just there somewhere in the back of your mind, but you're doing nothing with it? So dismiss it, the idea that, oh, I already know it. Please think about it from a different perspective. Be aware that maybe from this point, now you can learn something and implement it right away, and therefore change. So that be that learner, be that student of life that is willing to listen and implement. All right, so let's start with this. Carol Dweck, in her book Mindset, talks about two different types of people. There are people with growth mindset, and there are people with fixed mindset. People with the growth mindset are the ones that are always giving themselves the opportunity to ask questions, to inquire, to wonder, to study, to be open to work on things and fix it and just try to make it better. While people with the fixed mindset, they consider it done deal. They're afraid of judgment, of other people's opinions, and they are just not willing to do any changes in their life. If we think about it in different categories, for example, athletes who are having a growth mindset, they know that no matter what, they gotta work on their art, on their skills. Michael Jordan got cut off his high school basketball team. And what did he do? He was at 6 a.m. shooting hoops every day and practicing and practicing and practicing. And he became a legend. He didn't give up just because someone didn't think he was good enough at one point. Think about a corporation. If the CEO had a fixed mindset, he would think, oh, let's just maintain what we got. It's good enough. We're okay. The company is doing well. No, the CEO with the growth mindset will actually consider, how is this company able to become better and bigger and grow? And if the employee comes to him with the innovation, with the idea that could potentially help, the CEO with the growth mindset won't dismiss it, won't be feeling threatened by it, vice versa, will consider and perhaps even apply. So that's the difference. In relationships, people with a growth mindset, if something starts falling apart in a relationship, if things don't work really well, people with a growth mindset will work on it, will try to understand what needs to change. How can we adjust? What can we do? How can we fix it? While people with a fixed mindset consider it a done deal and they walk. And therefore, there are so many divorces, so many broken promises, broken relationships, because of that exact thing. There is no growth involved. People with a fixed mindset are so scared of other people's opinions and judgments that they don't want to entertain any growth. So mindset is huge. Every course, every concept that I've ever learned started with this piece. Let's start with a mindset. And I want to introduce to you today a concept that I learned from Harv Eker. It's an author of The Millionaire Mindset, but it's an interesting concept that we all come to this world as twins. And what does that mean? That when we were born, the twin one of us, is that pure baby that comes to this world with, no limiting decisions, no limiting beliefs. Anything is possible. You feel like you're happy, you're joyous, you just go after anything you want, and you feel that truly there's no limits. And then there is this other one, this twin brother, twin sister, who listen to other people, parents, teachers, siblings, friends, bosses. And these people imprinted on you their opinions, their judgments, their own limiting decisions. And that voice that you hear from them now start influencing your own decision. So all of a sudden, instead of thinking, oh, I can do that, you said, maybe I am not good enough. Maybe that's not for me. Who am I thinking I can do that? What's wrong with me? And that voice becomes louder and louder with the years and our experiences. And all of a sudden, that natural, pure, higher self that's connected to that higher power, that universe, the universal power, that higher existence, you can call it God if you like, you can call it universe, whatever it is for you, where that higher version of you has unlimited possibilities and exists, all of a sudden you don't hear any of it because it's that loud chatter from the other side. No, stay where you are. You're comfortable, you're good, do not move. Because what's going to happen if you leave? You're going to fail, you're going to do this, you're going to lose that, da. And that's what we listen to. And Harv Eker does this amazing exercise with his students. He divides them into the two groups in the room, and he asks one of the groups to hum audibly but rather quiet, comforting sound, like a humming, comforting sound, like almost like a monk's, something very peaceful and inspiring. And on the other part of the room, he asks them to scream loudly, shout, at the top of the lungs. So if I asked you, it doesn't take the rocket scientist to figure out, what do you hear in that room when both groups do their thing? The only thing you hear is the shouting, the yelling, the screaming, the loud noise. You don't even aware that the other sounds exist. So then he asks this loud group to quiet for a moment. And all of a sudden, you hear that humming sound. It was always there. You just never heard it. I just love this comparison because it shows you this is exactly what happens to us. Our higher self, that little angel that sits on one of our shoulders, tells us, yes, you can do it. Go for it. You know what needs to be done. You absolutely do it. You can do it. You are capable. You're awesome. You're amazing. You got everything you need. And here is the little devil. Here is that ego side of us that tells us, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? What makes you think you can do it? Just stay where you are. Come on. What's wrong with you? Why would you risk it? You should know better by now. Come on. And that voice, unfortunately, is so loud that our higher self often becomes muffled. And when we listen to that voice, of an ego who, yeah, it's there to protect us, that's granted, given, but at the same time, it limits us from going after our dreams, going after that exceptional life. So I'm here to share with you what's the ways of quieting that loud voice of that ego that tells you, do not do that. Don't do that. You do not deserve it. Stay where you are. So the best way to do it is to connect to present in order to be able to hear that higher self voice. And how do we do that? Obviously, the best way is when we're sleeping. We're connected to our higher selves. But then, unfortunately, when we wake up, we hardly ever remember what was happening in our head. So therefore, the best way to do it when we awake is during the meditation. And again, some people find it difficult to meditate. I'm one of them. I admit it. It's not something that comes to me naturally. But you don't need to go very deep into meditative states. You don't need to be like a monk with crossed legs, crossed arms, beams of light, all that stuff. All you need to do sometimes is just connect with your breath. Breathe in deep, hold your breath, breathe out, hold it again, and repeat. My favorite breathing technique that I literally almost use religiously now for anything in my life is the square breathing technique, where I take a deep breath on count to 3 or 4. I hold the breath on count to 3 to 4. Then I exhale again on count to 3 to 4, and I keep it empty on count to 3 or 4. If I repeat that cycle, if you do that, and let's say you awake at night, you can't fall asleep. If you repeat that square breathing technique, I promise you, by the 4th, 5th one, you'll be asleep. If you're anxious and you connect to that square breathing, you will feel calm. You know how often it happens when people are frantic, when they in the accident. The first thing that ambulance, the nurse that arrives at the scene will tell them, or the doctor, take a deep breath, because that's the moment when we first start calming down. So take that deep breath, connect to your present, and that will help you connect to your higher self. In my high performance coaching, I do this exercise with my clients where I ask them to imagine your highest, most accomplished, most successful future self. A person who already got everything that you ever wanted, became everything you ever wanted to be. And imagine that person now sitting next to you, and they're giving you their best advice. What do you think would they say to you? Would they tell you, just stay where you are are comfortable, good, do not do anything different, because you know what, you don't know what's going to happen if you do, just stay where you are, so you're good? Or would they say something different? And this is my number one task for you today. I want you to ask yourself, what would your future most successful, courageous, established self tell you to do? Because believe me, from quantum physics principles, your future with unlimited possibilities exists. And truly your highest self knows what needs to be done. You know it. You just sometimes don't let that voice tell you what it is, because that loud chatter of the ego tells you something else. And that sometimes it's all you hear is that ego, and limiting decisions, and negative emotions, and other people's opinions, and judgments, and you become closed in. And the exceptional life that's somewhere on the horizon, never gonna happen for you if you do not let that quieter, more wise voice talk to you. So Connect to the present as often as possible. Ask yourself a question. What is it that you want? What would your higher self told you to do? You may not get that answer right away. I tell you, that is a very fascinating thing to consider. Sometimes you ask yourself the question and nothing comes, and you're like, oh, why did I do that? It's bullshit. I knew it's not going to happen. But I tell you, when you do this powerfully, it will come to you. It may come to you in the morning the next day when you wake up and you're still in that phase between a fully awake and sleep. And something may come out, a thought. And therefore, I recommend to my clients, keep a piece of paper or a small notebook next to your bed, because those are the moments you want to write that down. Because often in the morning when you actually up, you don't remember. And that's what the higher mind was telling you to do. You got the answer, but you forgot. Sometimes you may be walking in a park or driving the car or talking to a friend, and all of a sudden a thought comes to your mind. That's the higher self telling you, be aware of it. Be sensitive enough to hear it. So you need to, first of all, ask yourself questions, but then intuitively listen. Those are concepts, my friends, that 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would call woo-woo. But I tell you, again, if I didn't open myself to these concepts, I wouldn't be where I am today. Granted. So let that quiet voice become audible enough to guide you through life. So that's about mindset. Super powerful. We can totally change everything, but it comes from the power of the things we're thinking about, the power, importance of the thoughts we're thinking. Let me explain to you. You can literally change a reality of your life by the way you think. People say that optimists see the glass half full and the pessimists see the same glass half empty. This is exactly what it is all about. It's the same glass, right? And some people just find the silver lining in the darkest of clouds, and they will think positive things, and they will go through life thinking that it's possible, and they will do it. While the people who see only negativity and have negative thoughts, they will never move out of their shell, because all they see is limitations and barriers and roadblocks, and they don't know what to do. They see perhaps a concept of something good on the horizon, that exception life, you said? Oh yeah, but that's for somebody else, because you know me, I cannot do that because A and B and C and X and Y and Z, and the reasons keep rolling in. Why cannot they do that? Other people will come up with ideas. How can they achieve something? And these people will say, no, that's not for me. I can't do that. And they give up. So the power of positive thinking. You know, Masaru Emoto, a Japanese scientist, in 1994 did an experiment. How important the energy of the thoughts is. It can be literally visualized in experiment with water. So he put water in several containers, and he labeled them with positive terms like joy, love you, gratitude, one of the most powerful ones, or I hate you, you suck on the other ones. And he froze those containers. And he then examined the water crystals. You won't believe, it's one of the most incredible things I have ever seen. And make sure you check in a members area. I included the photographs to prove that experiment. The crystals from the positive thoughts look gorgeous, symmetrical, like snowflakes, like stars, like beautiful ornaments, while the ones from the negative jars look like a completely disorganized mess. If that doesn't convince you, think about that. what negative thing that you're thinking about, does it ever make you feel good? Does it ever motivate you to do something? So it influences pretty much your behavior, right? No. If you have negative thoughts all the time, you won't be driven to do anything, because the negative thing tells you, the negative thought tells you, no, it's not going to happen. Why would you bother? It will influence the way you feel. It will influence your behavior. In the end, the reality of your life. So there is a way of flipping that switch, you know. In NLP training, I learned it's called anchoring. You can imagine a state in which you were super happy, super accomplished, something amazing happened, and you can anchor that state on your body. And if the negative things happen to you and the negative thoughts start crowding your mind, you can literally within seconds fire that anchor and bring that positive state back to yourself, back to the being. And it's incredible how powerful that stuff is. You know, we may have all kinds of negative emotions that ever since we were young, sometimes the root cause of them happened even before we were born, in some, form of when we were, as an embryo, maybe even our former lives. Again, concepts that were foreign to me at one time. But from timeline therapy training, I learned how incredibly important it is to stay open to that. Because when we can identify the root cause of our limiting decisions, negative emotions, all that bad stuff that doesn't serve us, we can eliminate it, totally wipe out. And just imagine the life in which you don't feel it. There is no phobias, there is no anger, there is no fear. Imagine that. If you go after your dreams boldly, courageously, joyously, confidently, it's all possible. I'm here to tell you, practice. Practice by one day when you feel amazing, strong, happy, joyous. Anything is possible. You're driving around, you're walking around, there's a gorgeous sunny day, and you feel like you're capable of doing anything. That's the state that you want to anchor on your body. So not to go too deep into the whole process, hopefully one day we'll do it together if you work with me, but for now just think about that state when you're in it, and just imagine one part of your body and just concentrate on it, or maybe press it in the midst of that amazing feeling. Because I tell you this much, the same exactly situation another day, perhaps when it's cloudy and raining and you don't feel good, the same exact situation will seem impossible, like you cannot do anything. Like, why would you even bother? That's when's the time to fire the positive state and bring it back. And remember how it felt, because it's still there. It's just that your negative thought won't allow you to see it. So it's super powerful. And finally, let's move into the concept of a power of words. My friends, how often do we talk negative words to ourselves? How often we talk down on ourselves, like we belittle ourselves just by saying things to ourselves. Oh my goodness, am I guilty of this still to this point once in a while? Not often anymore. But I would be the one the biggest critic of myself. Oh my goodness, you didn't do that right. You don't know. Why you're not good enough. My goodness, that one thing you're not good enough, that's part also of the limiting decision that people have, can stop the whole progress. With that one thing, you'll never get to that exceptional life because, first of all, you don't think you deserve it. You're not good enough to have it. Some people are unable to reach levels of wealth, all kinds of freedoms and just happiness because they simply feel they don't deserve it. They're not good enough for that. That's for other people. No, luckily for all of us, what we are born with, those beliefs, those things that we have somewhere here as you know, we come to this world, even though they're pure and in a way, we can change it. Even if they were crowded by other people's opinions and limiting decisions, we can change it. We can do that. So don't allow all this noise and chatter influence your thinking. Be a person who talks positive things to yourself. It's all energy. If you talk to yourself in a positive way, you're going to start feeling better. When you feel better, you act in a way that will promote actions that you want to see. And this will, in the end, create the reality you want, which is the exceptional life. So, my friends, I want to finish with the concept of how can you do that, you know, because you can have all these ideas, but if there is no driver for all this, it's all theory, right? Because if I tell you, okay, you have a goal, the goal could be your exceptional life, the goal be something else related to your business or personal life. If you do not know why do you want to achieve that goal, if things become difficult, if you find on your way roadblocks, if you find on your way some unexpected difficulties, detours and so on, chances are you're going to give up because it's difficult. So you need to have a reason, and that reason is deep enough why. So in today's lesson, the assignment, the homework, is an exercise that I learned from Dean Graziosi. He learned it from somewhere else. I can't remember now who it was, but it's important to do this exercise thoroughly. So you ask yourself a question: why do you want to achieve this or this or that? What is that goal that you want, or that exceptional life look like? Why do you want it? Answer that question. And you know what? That's not the reason actually you want it. That's the superficial reason, the first reason that comes to mind, but that's not something that will push you when things get hard. So ask yourself, why do you want that? And answer. And if you repeat that 7 levels deep, not 5, no 6, 7 levels deep, you will come to that root cause, to that answer, that the deep enough why, that no matter how hard things will get, you will go after your dreams. You will go after that goal. You will pursue that life of excellence, that life of your dreams, because there is a reason that is so deep. So make sure you download that assessment and you do it before tomorrow, because I promise you, from that one exercise alone, even if you don't take anything else in life, you will be blown away by just learning how much power your decisions now have behind them, because now you know why you want certain things happen. So I hope, my friends, that today's lesson open a little avenues if you have in your head. And again, like I said, some of these things you might have heard before. Some of these things you say, you know what, they're a little bit too out there for me. Just consider them. Don't dismiss. Give it a try. I promise you, your life will never be the same. All right, tomorrow we're going to talk about all these things. We're going to diagnose all these things in the past they weren't working for you. Decisions you made, actions you took, behaviors you demonstrated, whatever it was wasn't working for you. We're going to go through that, and we're going to see how can you assess your life in general and see what wasn't working in order to find out what needs to change in order to move you towards your exceptional life. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao.